A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's webinar, Zoom and YouTube for Churches, the Basics. My name is Tom Geldard. I'm Director of Communications and Media for Chelmsford Diocese, and I'm delighted to be joined by two of my colleagues this evening, Sarah Newman, who is the Communications Executive at Chelmsford Diocese, and will be talking with us about Zoom, and James Cottis, who works with us very closely at the diocese. He runs a company called Digital Spirit, and they manage the diocese website and also work very closely with us on our digital communications, and indeed support many of the churches across the diocese on this. And James will be talking in particular about YouTube this evening. Just one or two sort of housekeeping things before we start. We will put everyone on mute during the course of the webinar, just because it means that everyone can hear whoever's speaking clearly. But if you are asked to come in and speak at any point, if you could unmute yourself, that would be great. You'll see, and they should be working, we have some closed captions, which you can activate yourself if you want subtitles. Please do put any questions at any point in the chat facility, and we will pause along the way in order to try and answer those. I think that sort of covers it for the housekeeping. I'm just going to say a little bit about the webinar itself. It's a webinar which we kind of brought forward in our planning once we entered the new lockdown, just to try and go through some of the real basics for people who are looking to get going with using online church, and in particular broadcasting or streaming services for the first time. So we are going to focus on the real basics tonight, and make no apology for that. So we won't be talking about some of the more advanced things that you can do. It really is going to be about focusing on either bringing people together in order to worship collectively, or broadcasting a simple video service, not necessarily particularly well polished, and it doesn't need to be. But just doing the real basics to get you up and running and getting worship content online, and helping you share that with people in your parish. So that is what our focus is going to be on this evening. Just to talk through how that is all going to work. So Sarah will kick us off, and she will be talking about Zoom. She's going to start at the very beginning and talk about what Zoom actually is, and then go through some of the different pricing options for Zoom, and we'll be focusing right down at the low ends, looking at the free option and then the most basic package. Sarah will then talk about how to go into Zoom to schedule a meeting, how to invite people to that meeting, and then she'll talk a little bit about starting the meeting and some tips for making it work well and for running the meeting. As is the case with all of these things that we're doing this week, and when we do the Facebook Live one on Thursday as well, we'll also signpost you to some safeguarding advice that we have, which is obviously really important when we start to bring people together online. So that will be Zoom. We will keep the questions coming in the chat throughout, and we will pause at any point if it's helpful for us to start answering any of the questions. If questions haven't come in, we will pause anyway at the end of Sarah's bit, just to talk a little bit about Zoom and answer any questions, etc., before we then move on to James, who's going to go through YouTube, and specifically how to record video. And I think in particular, James is going to demo doing that on a computer, so sort of using the webcam on the computer to record it, but also talk about how you can get a video off a phone and put it on YouTube. YouTube is great. You can live stream with YouTube, so you can do live video, but it's also really good for pre-recording something and then putting it on YouTube and sharing it with your congregation and more widely. And one of the real advantages there is if you've got a church without a good internet connection or without an internet connection at all, you could go there and film a service or film a few people making a service, as might be the case at the moment. And you could upload, you could take that home basically and put it on YouTube at home and then share it. And a lot of our churches which have issues with internet connection use YouTube for this. So James will talk about how to get a YouTube account, which basically involves setting up a Google account, how to get a video onto YouTube, how to publish that video so it can be seen publicly, and then importantly, how to get a link for that video so you can publish it in your emails, on your social media, on your website, etc., and how to encourage people to watch it. So these are the things that we're going to go through this evening. So I'm just going to have a look in the chat to check there's no questions there, and it is just James asking for questions. So we are good to start, and I'm going to hand over to Sarah now. Sarah, do you want me to be sharing your slides, or are you going to do it?
I'm going to give it a go, I think.
Okay, so I will stop sharing now and hand over to Sarah.
Okay, so if I start sharing my screen, and as Tom said, everybody, I'm Sarah, and I'm just going to talk through with you an overview of Zoom. So we're going to include how to set up an account, how to schedule a meeting, and some tips on how you can kind of use the platform for its full advantage and to stay connected with your communities, especially at this time when we're not meeting in person. So Zoom is an online video conferencing platform which enables people to meet virtually. As I mentioned, it's a great way for churches to stay connected with their congregations. Churches have been using it in a variety of ways. Some for their main church services on a Sunday, for prayer meetings, Bible studies, even quiz nights, and there's much more imaginative things that you could do with Zoom. And I know the Church of England have put some ideas out for and examples of how churches have been using it, so that could be useful for you to take a look at later. I've included some links at the end of this slide. So Zoom meetings can be scheduled in advance. Scheduling creates a URL link which can be shared with all participants. So, like I said, anybody with a meeting link like you had for this meeting can join. So to get started with Zoom, there's a link there. So if you go to the Zoom website and then /sign in, or sign up rather, sorry. Oh, I've gone too far with my slides. Let me go back. There is an option for you to sign up. So there's a big orange button in the top right-hand side of the screen that says sign up. So you sign up with your email address. You'll be prompted to follow the instructions. And you will also be asked to verify your account. It will send you an email to your email address. So if you click on that link and just follow the prompts, and that will get you to create a free account. So what's included in the basic free account is listed here. So you'll be able to have 100 participants, and it's all for free. But the caveat there is the meeting limit is 40 minutes long. Oh, sorry, I keep moving my slides, so I have to apologise for that. There is also a pro version of the account. So you'll see there the price of it. So it's £119.90 per year per licence. So that gives you 100 participants, the same as the free one, but it's not time restricted. So you're not restricted to the 40 minutes. And also there's a recording function. So you're able to record your meeting to the cloud. and that enables you to record it and download it later, and you might be able to share it on your YouTube account for people that weren't able to attend your meeting. But there are other packages available, and there's a link there for you to find out more. But I'd recommend for churches that the Pro one is probably the best one that you would go for, just because of the time restricting function and the ability to record, really. So obviously find out some more at that link, but you're able to upgrade your package at any time, so you can go into your account and upgrade your license type. So when you go into your account, you'll be able to see how to do that. I'm going to move on now to how to schedule a meeting. I recorded a little video earlier on how to do this. So I'm just going to switch my screen to change to a different one and to share my video. So once you've created your Zoom account, you will log in and you will see your profile page. So from here you can schedule a meeting. So click on this link in the top right hand side of the page, and this will take you to a space where you can fill out all your details of your meeting. So I'm going to give it a title. Again, you can obviously put in whatever details you like. I'm just going to fill these out. And then it gives you an option to use a little calendar icon and choose a date for your meeting. So I am going to add these details here. You do the same for whenever you want to schedule your meeting. You can also set the duration of your meeting. This little square here is just telling me that my plan at the minute is the basic one, which sets you a 40-minute time limit, which we've spoken about previously. If you want to upgrade to the next level, then there's a link there too. So you can set click options to see if it's a reoccurring meeting. So if it's a meeting that happens regularly, you can click that option there. A meeting ID is automatically generated, and a passcode is also added for additional security. Then there's other options here. So if you want to have the host with their video on or off, and similarly for participants, you just toggle between whichever options you would like. Additional meeting options as well. It might be good to mute participants on entry, so we can tick that one. But again, you can choose whichever option you would like, and then you click save down here. This is then the kind of home page for the meeting that you've just created. And I can show you as well, if you're scheduling multiple meetings, your meetings also pop up on this side menu here. So at the moment, I've just got this one test meeting, but if you're scheduling lots of church services for every Sunday morning, you might have more listed here. And this is where you can edit your meeting, or you can start over and delete it, or you can start your meeting. But we'll just go back into that home page for the meeting I've just created. So we click on this hyperlink here from this meetings menu. So you click on here, as I said, it gives you an overview for your meeting, and it also, very importantly, gives you an invitation link. So we click on this copy invitation here, and you can copy and paste this information into your church emails if you're inviting people directly with email, or you can just keep this safe. So if people contact you wanting to be part of your church service or meeting, you've got the details for them there. So they've got a link to join and meeting and passcode information too. So if you just scroll down to the bottom, if you're creating a lot of meetings that are for the same thing, so if you're doing your regular Sunday service, you can save this meeting as a template so that you don't have to fill out the details every time. And then when you come to schedule a meeting, it will invite you to use a save template. So that's just something to bear in mind. It will save you a lot of work if you're putting the same details in over and over. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things to remember is that the host has to start the meeting before anybody can join. So you just find your meeting in the meetings menu on the left hand side. Find your meetings in all of your meetings listed here. As I said, I've only got one, and then click this start button here. And that's how you start your meeting. Back to the slides. And here we go. So if I start from there. So that was basically saying once you've created your account, you go into Zoom and there's a profile page, there's a schedule meeting tab at the top right. So you click on there, you put in the details of your meeting, you can put in a title, a description, password for extra security, and you scroll down, there's a few other options, like for example, if you want the participants to be muted on entry, tick all the boxes and click schedule to finish. So, and there's a meetings menu tab there where you can find all your scheduled meetings, which you can use to edit or even delete your meeting if you need to. And you can start your meeting from there too. So moving on, and then if you click on the meeting that you've created, it brings up kind of like a hub page for that meeting. And halfway down that page, there is a URL link, which is very important and enables you to share your meeting with everybody. So you copy meeting invitation, and in that invitation, there's details such as timings, and then there's your meeting ID and passcode. So you can copy all that information and paste it into an email or other church communications and directly invite people. But what we would say, it's probably not best to share your meeting link directly on social media, because then you're not entirely sure who is joining. Instead, it's probably best to share your link with more private groups or ask people to contact you for the details. So you can publicise that you've got a Zoom meeting happening, maybe on Facebook, and if people are interested, invite them to send you an email, and so that you can share the link with them that way. Okay, so we are going to go on to tips for running your meeting. So first one there is to be clear about the purpose of your meeting beforehand. So hopefully you all knew before you joined this meeting that it was basic level for Zoom. So it just lets people know what to expect. And then at the start, obviously tell people what kind of meeting it will be. Will there be opportunities to talk, much like Tom did at the beginning of this one? So we kind of laid out what this meeting would involve and said that there'll be opportunities to ask questions partway through, and then obviously again at the end. And again with the meeting chat, that can be used by participants to kind of send messages or questions, and as hosts we can all see them, and when we get a chance a bit later on, we will go through and answer as many as we can. So that's a very useful function in terms of creating like a two-way conversation rather than you just talking at your computer screen. Okay, so further tips. So like Tom said earlier, everyone was muted when they're not speaking, and there's some useful shortcut links there on how you can mute and unmute everybody when you are running your Zoom meeting. Okay, we had the issue earlier about sharing screen, but in theory there's a share screen button when you're a host. You click on it and you click on the screen, the window on your computer that you want to open and share with everybody. And honestly, it is easier than what I made earlier. So, and then the last tip there is to record your meeting, and you can share it with those who aren't able to attend. So when you've got the paid for pro account, you're able to share your meeting up onto the cloud. You can download it shortly after your meeting, and we can upload it to somewhere like YouTube, and it will be there for people to watch later. But James will talk a bit more about that when he goes on to talking about YouTube. So here we go. Important stuff, safeguarding. So as more of us are now using digital communications in our ministry, it's important to be aware of the safeguarding issues around that and to follow best practice. So we've got an online church hub, which has got lots of useful links, and one of the sections on there gives guidance about safeguarding and video conferencing, especially with young people. So there's the link there. So when you've got a chance, please do make sure you're kind of familiar with that guidance. And then there's more useful links there. I mentioned our church hub, but the Church of England have also got a Labs Learning blog. So there's a URL for that, and that covers all sorts to do with digital communications, but they have got some good blogs specifically about Zoom and YouTube. So I would again encourage you to click on that link and just have a good search around. And there's loads of good information on there. That's it from me, and I will stop sharing my screen now and pass on to James.
In fact, let's pause there because there's some questions that have come in. So it's probably a good time while they're fresh in everyone's mind for us to deal with those before we move on to YouTube, and also do keep them coming as well, because let's try and sort of deal with Zoom before we move on to YouTube. First thing to say is Sarah obviously shared some links there. We will send an email to everyone after this with those links in so that you've got them. The other thing is the video that Sarah shared. We've obviously got that video, so we'll edit that into the recording of this webinar, and that's got some how-to instructions in. So whatever the black box was, and actually that's a new one to me. So there's obviously something buggy going on there in Zoom, and the fact the beginning of it was missed off. It'll be there, and what might be quite helpful is if you could actually go in and set up a Zoom meeting and sort of pause the video while you're doing it and do each step at a time. So we'll make that available for you. There's been some good questions coming in. First one from Judith, who says, how much of the things that you were going through, Sarah, can be done on the free version?
With the free version, a lot of it can be done, the same functionality is there, but the main limitation is the 40 minutes for the free basic version. So we would recommend that churches maybe do the paid one, just because it's more smooth running in terms of the length of your meeting or your service. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Tom?
I think that is pretty much it. That is the fundamental difference, and obviously 40 minutes is quite restrictive for people, but I'd say if you want to give this a try and see how it feels and etc., then you know, go for it with the free version. As Sarah said earlier, you can upgrade at any time, so it's not like you're making a commitment to do that. So you could try a short service or something and bring people together on the free version and just see how it goes and how you feel about it. And then if it seems to be working for you, you could make a decision at that when you want to upgrade to the free version. Okay, so Marilyn has asked about screen sharing, which is our most challenging topic.
We're all experts at that.
So unfortunately, I was thinking when you put that in, Marilyn, I'll show you how it works. But I think the one thing that you can't share on screen is screen sharing screen. That makes
no, you can't.
It might be a good idea for us actually to film us doing that at some point and then send that.
Yeah, or I'll take some kind of screenshots of my screen doing it.
That would be really good.
Give it a very quick
promise not to make such a dog's dinner of it.
Quick overview though. When you click share screen, the green button at the bottom, you're given a couple of options. It pops up. And what you can do is you can share your desktops, so you can share everything, or you can actually also share individual programs as well, which I'll do a bit when I come to my presentation. But the one thing to make sure you do is there's some tick boxes at the bottom that say share sound and optimize the video clip. And I'd always recommend kind of clicking the share sound and the optimize the video clip, just so the audio comes out. Especially if you're doing sharing a worship song or something like that from YouTube in your sermon.
You know what I'll do, James? While you're doing the YouTube thing, I will take a screenshot of the screen. Oh no, I probably can't do that when you're doing that. But I will do that in a moment. I'll take a screenshot, and then when you finish your YouTube, we can come back and I can show you what it looks like. Something to say about sharing is that when you set up a Zoom meeting, you're the host. That's the title it gives you. The person who set it up is called the host, and that you won't be seeing these things on your screen. They can only be seen by the person who's set up the meeting. That's why you can't see them. You can make other people co-hosts when you're doing the meeting, which is really good, because it means that, for example, if you were doing a church service, you could bring someone in to do the prayers, and they might want to share an image on the screen or something like that, or someone might want to join and play a video or something like that. So you can let other people do these things, but your participants, the people who have logged on like you have this evening, can't do these things unless they're given permission to do so. So that's how that works. Now, what I am going to do just before I hand over to James is I am going to take a quick.
Well, while you do that, Tom, there was just two questions I saw. Wendy asked a question about putting people into predetermined groups in a chat room, for example, if you're running a course like Alpha. That is possible. So what you're going to use is something called breakout rooms. So when you set up the meeting, it's one of the settings in there. You just need to make sure it's enabled. But you've got two options with the breakout room. You can randomly select, so you can let Zoom randomly select who's going to go into which breakout room, or you can, before the meeting starts, predefine who's going to go into which room. And then what you do is when you want to start your breakout room, you click the button. It will be in the toolbar at the bottom. You click the button in there, and then it will just send everyone off into breakout rooms. And we've done this before in some of the other sessions that we've done. We've allowed people, and all it does is, at the moment, there's 28 of us, and we could say we could have a breakout room with maybe 3 people in it, for example. So it just becomes a closer conversation. And then what you can then also do afterwards is, as the host, you can send messages to each of the breakout rooms, and you can also close the rooms as well. So as a host, you click the close button, and then it will basically give everyone a warning, and then they'll come back to the main Zoom meeting. Wendy, yes.
James, thank you for that. How do I predetermine the groups? So how do I get into the part of the settings where I predetermine the groups?
So when you set up the meeting, so back on the website entry, if you log into your account via a browser,
okay.
You can then select the breakout room option, and you can assign people. You can also, once you've activated, you can do it in the meeting while the meeting's going ahead as well. You can click the breakout room button at the bottom, and then it comes up with the options. So I can create, at the moment, let's say 4 rooms, and I can assign automatically, or I can assign manually. You also have an option now as well, which is a new one, to let participants choose a room as well. So the participants can choose a room as well if they wanted to. There's also just been a quick notice as well from, I can't remember who sent it to me. Piers. Obviously was it Piers? No, sorry, I can't.
Question from Alex about multiple users using a paid version.
Yep, that wasn't. Yeah, it was just about the dialing code. Sorry, it was regarding
that was me. Yeah.
Yes, it was Piers. Yes. that it's the default defaults to the US, but you can change it to the UK when you set up your Zoom meeting. So it's just worth doing that for people who want to ring in on a phone. Alex, yes, about the multiple versions and the paid version. You can, and you can log in at the same time. I wouldn't recommend doing it a lot. I only found that out because I purely did it by accident. We did it with the Diocese account as well. With me and Tom both logged in with the same account. It does let you in, but it's probably not worth. I wouldn't recommend it doing too much.
But what I think you can do is that you could have a church account.
Yeah.
Let's say there's 3 or 4 of you who are sort of might be setting up services for the church or doing the tech for the services for your church. Then for you all to have a church account with a common, what you probably need to do then is have a shared email address as well, so that you so you might set up a sort of online church at St. Matthew's Online Church at gmail.com or something like that, and you all have access to that email. It's a sort of corporate church email, and then you set up a Zoom account on that email address so that you can all log into it when you want to use it. But as James said, when you do that, make sure that one person is logging in as the church, and that anyone else is logging in as themselves, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I see some slightly confused faces.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what like Tom's done here as well with us, is you can also share co-hosts as well. So you could have one person has the account, and then obviously you can share. So they start the meeting, for example, but you can also then share it to someone else. So let someone else help manage the workload and stuff during the meeting.
Great. Okay, I think we've cleared our questions on Zoom. So thank you very much for that. Sarah, yes.
There was just one thing that when James was chatting that prompted me. James mentioned earlier about recording services, and I know for his church he sometimes plays obviously worship songs, so we need to make sure or a top tip for kind of running your meeting is to pause your recording when you're playing those songs, just to avoid any kind of copyright issues when you upload it to YouTube. So I just remembered that point. I'm sure James will kind of take it forward.
I push my boundaries with YouTube on how much I can when we start sharing our worship songs. But yeah, it's fine. All we do is so in my church we're running Zoom at the moment, and that's exactly how we do it. So if we want to do the kind of worship song side of it, we share a YouTube video with some lyrics, for example, on it, and all I do is I just pause the recording. We obviously share my screen, play the video, then come back and then just reactivate the recording. And then when I upload the final video and stuff to YouTube after the Zoom church service, we just put in the description, these are the videos that we used. So that's just one way around getting, because obviously if we record the YouTube videos and stuff that are on there from something like Bethel Music, for example, it will just come up with copyright issues and stuff. It's normally fine. You'll just get a warning, but it's probably a safer and a best way to do it.
Just one more question in from Piers as well about closed captions. So there's 2 options here, one which is much more straightforward than the other, but costs a little bit. So Zoom does now have closed captions functionality, and you'll see we're using it here this evening. So for free, you can assign someone to type closed captions and that's built into Zoom. So if you've got a fast typist who's willing to volunteer to do that, then you can do that when you set up your Zoom meeting. What we're actually using here, and it's not perfect, but it does mean no one is sat there frantically typing, is we've used something called rev.com. So if you go to rev.com, you can buy and it's monthly. I think it's about £19 a month So yeah, so you buy that, and then you can, it basically gives you instructions. You connect it to your Zoom account, and it uses the same functionality that is built into Zoom so that you can live stream onto things like Facebook and YouTube. But it will basically be listening and auto transcribing, so that then anyone who wants to turn closed captions on then gets subtitles for the Zoom meeting. But anyone who's watching this and using
maybe just worth saying that those captions are subtitles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, in fact, if anyone looks now on their screen, you should see at the bottom. I think it says closed captions, and if you click show subtitle, you should then get subtitles that pop up with everything that's being said on the call. If I speak for any longer, you'll start to see that it starts to misinterpret me. But nevertheless, may be useful because it may allow someone to follow on. And actually, it's doing quite well, I think, because I've just turned it on. So perhaps it knows it's being tested.
Yeah, see how it gets on with some of the Old Testament names in some of the Bible, how it throws up some of those.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Let's okay, so we'll jump. These are good questions, so let's keep dealing with them. So Chris says, is there not a CCL amnesty providing freedom to use videos at the moment during COVID? So the situation is it depends what you're doing. So I think the clearly YouTube videos are where people have put videos on YouTube, then sort of what you're doing in effect, if you're using them in your Zoom meeting, I think it's fine to be using them in your Zoom meeting, but if you are recording that and then turning it into your own video that you're putting on YouTube, you're basically you're taking their content and turning it into your own content. So there is a good chance you might have an issue with it. The CCLI license does cover churches producing their own music content for a lot of worship songs and hymns. And there's a big list of those worship songs and hymns on the CCLI website. And then for a reasonable price, you can buy a CCLI add-on, which allows you to use them in videos that you make yourself. There is also on the Church of England's A Church Near You website, there's a whole load of pre-recorded music which you can use in your own videos as well. And if you've got that license, then you can use those. I think what Sarah was referring to is much less safe ground, and that's why we'd suggest doing this, is if someone else has put a video on YouTube and then you're just basically, the effect of what you'll be doing is basically copying that and putting it into your own video. So that is why we're advising against that. These things also have algorithms built in, YouTube and Facebook, etc., that watch out for copyrighted content. Now, a lot of the time they will just basically tell you that they're not going to allow you to run adverts before your videos in order to make money, which churches aren't doing anyway, so isn't a problem. But it is possible, particularly if you're using a particularly commercial piece of music, that they could become more strict than that, and could ultimately they could take down your YouTube channel or something. So you obviously don't want to get into that territory. Okay.
I had one more question, or someone, I think it was Keith, he was saying that he's got his own Zoom account, which obviously it gives you your own personal ID and passcode, and whether that kind of eliminates the need for scheduling. It just depends whether you want to put out your personal meeting ID, to be honest. If you schedule a meeting, it generates a random one, and obviously a kind of a unique passcode to go with that. So it's completely personal preference. It depends whether you're using an email address that's related to kind of like the church, as in like your kind of work volunteering role, as opposed to a personal email address. It's completely up to you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, James, let's conscious of time, let's jump into YouTube.
So hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little bit about YouTube. So obviously Sarah's discussed about setting up a Zoom meeting and using Zoom as a platform for your church service on a Sunday morning. Another option with that as well is to actually record your service beforehand. You can create a video for it, and then you can obviously upload that to YouTube, which is what I'm going to cover now. So what we're hoping to do is basically going to look at sort of how we can, the options we can record the video, look at setting up a YouTube account, and then upload that video to YouTube, publish it, and then obviously getting the links. And I'm actually going to do this sort of live, little quick live demonstration as we're talking now. So this obviously is not going to be needed your setup from church. As a minister, you do not need to look like inside of a TV studio now. It's one of the things I definitely want to kind of promote. And actually, all you really need, gone too far myself. All you actually really need is a few bits of software. Actually, most of you have got them now, because I can see you've all got webcams and stuff on your computers. So your computer itself, you can actually record that, and that's what I'm going to do in a second. And there's a couple of different bits of software that you can use for that. If you're on a Mac, it comes built with a bit of software called QuickTime, which is what I'm going to use now. But you can also actually just use your Zoom account as well. So within Zoom, you can go to your Zoom account, you can start a meeting yourself. So your video comes up on screen. And at the bottom, you can obviously just click record, and it will just record what's on the webcam. So you can actually just speak into the webcam like I am now, and obviously record that. And then that will save that down to your computer for you to upload. So again, if you've got a webcam on your laptop or your computer, you can do that now. The other options you can also use are our good old phones. So we can also use our phones or tablets, for example, all have camera facilities on them. So if you've got a smartphone, so you can obviously use that as well. If you are going to use a camera, so if you are going to use your phone, then one thing I'd recommend is purchasing something a little like this, and I'll put some links and stuff in a little bit later on. And actually having a tripod, and this is a little kind of stand that goes on top of the tripod. It screws in, and it allows me to put my phone in the tripod holder. So then I can obviously then have that, and I'm not trying to hold the phone, and I'm not going to get shaky sort of hand as I'm kind of doing my presentation. I can put it on the table, I can then speak into it, and obviously just hit record. One thing to do if you are going to use your phone is ideally have it in a landscape mode as well. It'll just be better when you upload the video. So to get the kind of the tripod stands, you're looking at somewhere in the region of around about 10, 15, 20 pounds. And I'll post a couple of Amazon links and stuff on there as well. That this is where I bought this one from. So those are kind of the few different options. The last thing I would also recommend as well is, again, if you wanted to spend a little bit more money and have a bit of a budget, is having a microphone as well. With the laptops and with our phones and stuff, the microphones aren't too bad. But obviously, if you are going to be doing this on a regular basis, a microphone sort of option isn't too bad. And if I can sort of, something like this, for example, this is my one I use. And that cost me £15 from Amazon. So again, we're not talking huge amounts of money. And that just plugs into the USB port. And all I'm doing is, it's just a better quality microphone than the speakers and the microphone on my laptop. So those are the different kind of options really that we can kind of do. So, but like I wanted to say, you don't need loads of expensive software. You've probably got the stuff already. You can just kind of crack on with it. So the next option we're going to look at is kind of recording the video. So what I'm going to do now is go to recording my video. So I'm going to use my bit of software, QuickTime. And I'm going to record a quick video. So I'm just going to hit this, and I'm going to get some feedback. There we go. So I've recorded my video. That was my quick little sermon and stuff I've done there. Okay. So what I'm just going to do is just going to save that down. Save that down to my desktop. so I can just come out of that. So
James, are you aware we're still seeing your PowerPoint slide?
Ah, okay, that's fine. I will come off of that in a sec. So I've recorded my video, my very quick sermon of 30 seconds of me waving my hands. Not the most professional, but at least it allows us to do it. But what I'm sort of wanting to kind of get across is that you can actually just sort of sit here and record your video and stuff yourself. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to change the share because now we need to, once we've recorded our video, we now need to look at uploading it. So to upload our video, what we're going to do is I'm just going to share my screen, switch this one to that one. So what we're going to do is I've created my video. I now want to upload it and stuff to YouTube. So to do that, we're going to need a YouTube account. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to sign up for a Google account. You may have a Google account as a church. So to do that, what we need to do, and again, I'll post all these links in, but you can just go to Google and this is a sign-in page, but I'll click on the create account here. So if I click on create account, you've got two options, for myself or to manage my business. You may have a Google account for yourself. My recommendation would be to create one for the church and keep them separate so you can keep the different sort of separation between yourself and your church. So we'll click one called to manage my business. So I click on that. And then what we just then need to do is just kind of fill in. I'm not going to fill these details in now, but it's a standard sign up form for, as I'm sure many people have sort of seen before. Give yourself a name, put your details and stuff in. Obviously, you can put your church name and you can use your own current email address, or you can create a new church Gmail address. Once you've kind of signed up, you'll come to a page that looks a little like this. And the first thing I'd always recommend doing is actually uploading your church logo or a picture of the church, just to give it a bit of branding, a little bit of simple branding and stuff you can do. So I've just uploaded this my church's YouTube account. So what you can then do is just put a little bit of branding there. So when people come to the page, they know that it's for your church. So to upload the video, what we need to do is once we've logged into YouTube, in the very top hand corner, we have this little button that says create. So if I click on create here, there's a couple of options up to go live or to upload a video. So I want to upload a video. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my video from my desktop and I'm just going to drop it in there. So this is uploading in the background now. It was only a very quick video and stuff, so it's going to do it quite quickly. But I can give this some test details. So this is our test video. So you might want to sort of say Sunday service or Sunday morning worship. Can't think of the day. What was it? 11th, 10th, 9th of January 2021, let's say, if it was the other day. So you can give it a title, you can give it a description as well. And this is where we were talking about putting the descriptions of the video links and stuff in. So this is where you can put your description in. You can maybe say who's the talk is about, the Bible readings, for example, as well. Just put a short description in. If I scroll down, the new thing you have to do now is you have to say, is it video made for kids? You can select yes or no. There's no right and wrong answer. What it is if you select it's yes, it's made for kids, any adverts and stuff that might appear around that YouTube video will be more kid friendly. That's all it's for, really. So you can select yes or no. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to select no for now. I can click on next. I can ignore that because I don't need to worry about that. And then we get to the options of where we want to publish our video. So if you're ready for it to go live straight away, you can just hit public and hit publish. And what this will do, this will upload the video straight to the YouTube account, and it will push it out there, and obviously our links live to the public straight away. The other options you can also do is you can set it to make it as a premiere, so you can schedule it as well. So if you've recorded the video maybe on a Wednesday, what you might want to do is then have it scheduled to come out at 10 o'clock on the Sunday morning. So what I can do is I can click on schedule, And then from that, I can then select the Sunday morning, Sunday the 17th, and I can select it to go out at 10 a.m. Let's say 10 a.m. So I can select 10 a.m. and I can select it as a premiere if you wanted to, or you could just schedule it to go at that time. What will happen is the link will appear and the video will appear there, but it will just say this has been set to schedule at 10 o'clock on Sunday. So if you wanted to share it, you wanted to embed it on your website, for example, anything like that, the video will all be ready to go, but no one will be able to watch it until 10 o'clock. So that's another way of kind of getting, if your service was normally on 10 o'clock on a Sunday, it's just another nice way of kind of bringing everything together and people watching all at the same time, same as if they would be going to church. And the other options as well is unlisted, which is what I'm going to leave this as now, just because obviously if I hit publish, all of our subscribers will have a video of me kind of waving my hands. So I'm just going to hit unlisted and then hit save. Unlisted videos are basically completely private unless anyone you share the link with. So no one else can see them unless I share the link with you. Or you can obviously just make it private, as it says there. That's completely, you have to be logged into the YouTube account to see it. So I'm just going to hit save and it will process all of that. And here we go. So I've got my video links and stuff here. I've got my details and stuff here. I can share it if I wanted to here. But this is my video link. So if I click on this button here, this will take me to my video, which is me waving my hands around like a fool. But that's our video and stuff there. So the other thing we also wanted to look at was sharing this video as well. So we can share the video to share amongst, so you might want to put it out in a weekly email. You can share it on your social media, anything like that. And to do that, you click on share, and this is the URL that we need to share. So this one here, I can just copy that and I can then paste it into an email. I can paste it onto my Facebook page, Instagram page, anything like that, or Twitter for my church account, or I can send it around in an email to all my people on my mailing list for the parish. And then obviously they can click on that link and they can see the video. I will quickly cover, there is the option of here of embed. So with an embed, what you can also then do is copy this embed code and paste it on your website. So if you have got a website, you can actually access, put code pages on there. You can obviously copy this code here and embed that. And what that will do is, you might have seen on the diocese site sometimes, for example, we embed the videos and stuff on the page. This is the code that we use. YouTube generates it all for you. You just need to hit copy and paste it on your page. But a simple share is probably the easiest option. I'm going to stop that share. I think that's it. If anyone has any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, James. Okay, so any questions about YouTube? I don't see anything in there at the moment, but if people do have questions, do feel free to type them in, or even I will go back to gallery view. Just give us a wave and we can bring people in off mute. Yeah, Paula.
Thank you. How do you deal with doing a YouTube live at the same time as you're doing a Zoom? Is that possible?
Yeah, so you can go live via Zoom to YouTube and stuff. But are you talking about sort of are you going live to YouTube direct, or?
I suppose I'm sort of up to basic Zooms, but it has occurred to me it would be good to be able to do the same service on a YouTube so people could see it later. How would I do that?
So if on Zoom, what I'd recommend is similar to what we're doing here now. So if you're doing, so it's actually very similar to what I do in my church. So on a Sunday morning, we have a Zoom call meeting like this, yeah. And we can spotlight people like we've been doing. So obviously the person's obviously the only people on there and everyone else is muted. So it's exactly like this in a way. What you can do is you can record which is what we're doing now. So you can record it, and I'd recommend recording it to the cloud. And what it does is it saves it up to the Zoom's servers. And then once you finish the meeting, you will have probably probably about 5-10 minutes later, it'll email you and say it's now ready. You can click on that and it will download a video file for you. So then all you need to do is ignore the first bit of my kind of presentation about making the video and waving your hands around, and you just go to your YouTube account and you'll do exactly what I do on a Sunday morning, and then just go to upload video, and then you just upload that video, fill in the details, and then hit publish. And then you can then share that or embed that on the website. And do exactly what I do. So we then share it out on our Facebook page. And unfortunately, if you weren't able to make it to our service this morning, here's a video and you can watch it back.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, James. Questions are coming thick and fast now. So, as I suppose as a follow-up to that, how the question of how do you actually go live on Facebook or YouTube from a Zoom meeting, which you can do and can do fairly straightforwardly. Probably wouldn't try it if you're going to do a Zoom meeting for the first time, but basically Zoom has a built-in function now which allows you to connect up your Facebook and YouTube, and basically you get, it tells you how to do it. It tells you what information it needs from your YouTube or Facebook account, and then there's a button within Zoom, and you click stream to Facebook or YouTube, and then it goes out on that account at the same time. So it can be quite a good way of doing live services on Facebook and YouTube. In fact, one thing that's particularly good about it, if we're in sort of a lockdown situation and you want someone who's doing the, you know, you've got someone leading the service, but you want someone else to do prayers, and you might have someone else doing some music or something, is that you can have people in their own homes. And obviously Zoom is great for enabling that. And so you can almost use Zoom a bit like a sort of TV studio with people in different places around your parish, and you can use Zoom to bring them in at different points of the service to do their bit, and then get it out on YouTube and Facebook. So it can be really good for that. Sorry, I'm jumping in and answering the questions rather than sharing them around. So James, how do you get a video from an iPhone onto a Windows PC to load it into YouTube?
Okay, so that's a good question. There's a couple of options you can do that. On a Windows PC, yeah, if it was on a Mac, it's nice and easy. You can use an AirDrop and it does it. If it's on a Windows PC, depending on the size of the video, chances are it's probably going to be quite large if you've been talking, but you could obviously email it, but that's going to be probably quite large. What I'd recommend is taking the USB cable that comes obviously with your phone, plugging it into the laptop, and it will kick into iTunes. And then from iTunes and stuff, you can effectively, your phone becomes almost like a USB stick. So once it's in there, you can then save the file down from there.
If you're not comfortable with that, then obviously there are other, you could use, if you use anything like Office, if you've got a sort of a Microsoft Office OneDrive or something like that, you can also upload a video using your phone onto that and then download it onto your computer. But once you start doing that sort of thing, it just takes a little longer. So the other thing which I've done before is actually uploading videos into YouTube from your phone, and the YouTube app on things like iPhones and Androids is actually very good, and it's very user friendly and straightforward. Yeah. And it allows you to do all the same things. You can all the settings James went through on the desktop version, you can do on your phone as well. So you don't necessarily have to get it onto your computer in order to upload it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Keith's question. Another question for us. Actually, we're back on Zoom here. Can you double share, i.e. have an audio open and with a PowerPoint presentation at the same time? I think you can.
You can. Yeah, so you can basically share the audio, so you can have the PowerPoint presentation, share that screen. But if you've got any audio coming from your computer, that will be picked up.
Yes, at the top of the Zoom screen, there seems to be like a new share button. So there's a share screen at the bottom, and there's also a new share at the top. And I've used that, and it seems to allow me to do two.
So you can, yeah, you can share two files at the same time, but if it's just audio, I would just run it in the background on your computer. So if you've got if you're running a PowerPoint presentation and you wanted just some audio background music, for example, as well, if you've got that, even if you had it running on a YouTube window or iTunes or something on there, any audio that's coming from your computer will automatically be pushed out.
As long as you're sharing sound.
As long as you're sharing sound, yes.
Okay.
Can I just say something on that? Just that
Yeah.
I have to say I've been running PowerPoint over Zoom for the past few weeks, and in the end I found it's kept me calm to get everything into my PowerPoint. So my videos go into my PowerPoint, everything goes into my PowerPoint, and I set up the slides so that the video starts automatically when I click on that slide. And I've just found that that's kept me calm and allowed me then to choose what I'm going to record, whether we're seeing the shared screen or everybody praying together or the person's preaching or whatever it is. So that's just a thing to think about, just getting it all in one place and it's all just ready to go and you can just run it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that sounds good.
great tip. And I noticed the rector at my church doing that last week as well, and it went a lot smoother than previously. Because it is, when you're trying to move, maybe you've witnessed this slightly this evening, but when you're trying to move from sharing one thing to another, it can be a little, it's certainly stressful, and you're trying to work out, you've got all those screens in front of you and you're trying to work out whether it's the right one and all that sort of thing.
I even put in little prompts to myself to say, right, at the end of this, stop share, spotlight the president, at the end of this, return to share, and just so all of that stuff, and then I don't have to think about anything and I can just follow it through. And it's kept me, as I said, it's kept me sane for the last few weeks.
One thing we do in our chat, a similar sort of thing, is I tend to manage and look after all the kind of Zoom hosting, and then similar to what Tom said, we have the minister might do their bit, and we might have someone do a reading, and obviously, but I just purely look after the kind of clicking around and not having to do it. And that's probably what I'd recommend, is if you are giving a sermon out to everyone, last thing you want to be doing is having to worry about where you're going to click and all those sorts of things. If you can get someone else to do it, get them to do all the clicking, and then obviously they can have, if you've got an order of service in front of them, they know, so while you're coming to the end of your sermon, for example, they might know that it's going on to the prayers next, and the person doing the prayers is this person, and they can be already getting that person ready, unmuted and stuff like that, ready to share, so when you come to the end, it goes automatically on. So it just takes the pressure off of you.
Great. Okay, I think we've come to the end of the questions we've got there. Does anyone else have any questions for Megan?
Yes, James, when you were uploading your video, you had an option to click a Premiere box, but you didn't do that. You just did it ordinary. What's the difference between the two? So
a Premiere, what you'll do is it will, you might have seen these videos before, so it will create a little countdown and everything as well. So say I'd set it to launch at 10 o'clock and click the Premiere option. Automatically it will start playing at sort of 10, just a minute or so beforehand. A little counter and the dial comes up and it does a little countdown from 59 for the last minute to 1, and then obviously then it goes live. That's basically really all it does. It's YouTube's version of making it a little bit more special.
Does it give, and I know Facebook does, but does YouTube give your followers a notification as well to say that you've got?
Yeah, so anyone who's subscribed to you anyway, which is another reason I didn't want to push this video out publicly, because all our subscribers, like we say, when you subscribe to the channel, you can be notified of any videos and stuff that are pushed out. So yeah, so anyone who subscribes obviously will be notified of that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We will we'll send an email out to everyone with the links in that we've been through, and also a video recording and signposting anything else. Basically, we'll also have we've got a feedback form in there as well, and it is always very helpful to get your feedback. So if you're able to spend a few minutes doing that, that would be much appreciated. We have our other webinar this week on Thursday, when we'll go through Facebook Live in a similar way. And then I'd also like to just give a plug, and I should have introduced him earlier on, in fact, but Alan Moss is on the webinar this evening, and Alan is a curate in East London, but he's working with us closely in the communications team on one of his passions, which is digital communications in church and digital mission. And Alan will be hosting a webinar on Tuesday next week, and we'll be joined by the Dean of Chelmsford, Nicholas Henschel, and also one of our pioneer ministers from Colchester, who are going to be talking about their experiences since the lockdown began back in March, and how they've used online church to worship online and communicate and engage with people online. So that should be really interesting. But yeah, Alan will be hosting that one next Tuesday. So okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening, and we hope to see some of you on Thursday evening. And thank you, James and Sarah, for your presentations. Thank you all.